Hi, I'm back. I've added a few new things to the game since last time, including some simple randomly generated contracts for the player and improved employee controls. I've wanted to make building conveyor belts faster for a while, and I decided now was the time to sort that. My solution was just to make the camera snap to the last conveyor built, which makes your mouse automatically hover over the next space. That means you can pretty much just click without moving the mouse to build conveyor belts really quickly. I discovered that by mistake, but it seems to work pretty well. The next thing was to get to work on adding contracts to the game, building on the new interface I designed last time. I made a few companies with pretty bad names next, before going on to make the control panel for the trading house. These companies will send the player contracts which they can accept or decline, basically asking for a specific item to be built. If you have any company name ideas, I'd love to hear them, so leave a comment below. Anyway, with the control panel all set up, opening the trading house interface, I made a generator to begin generating contracts. The first attempt at getting that into the interface didn't go too well. So I attached a script I'd forgotten to add originally, and that just created the same problem more times. It turned out the game just wasn't positioning the contracts correctly, so messing around manually fixed that quite easily. But when I tried implementing that in code, this happened. After a bit more investigation, it turned out that the pivot points for each of the 4 spaces on the interface were all set up differently, which basically means anything added to them would appear in different positions. After setting them all to be the same, this was the result. The player can accept or decline offers, and then the progress will be displayed, once I've finished some other stuff that relies on. These are all completely randomized, and at the moment 4 are generated at the start of the game, but I'll be tying contract offers into some triggers in the game at some point. So they sort of trickle in as notifications or letters during gameplay. Next, I decided to improve the employee control panels. They've been a bit basic up until now, only displaying an employee's happiness and tiredness. I added a headshot from the employee hire page, just so it's a bit more clear which employee is currently selected. But as it seems Unity isn't my friend at the moment, the headshot sprite just wasn't displaying in the game. After investigation, yet again, I discovered that the sprite was way back in the Z axis and outside of the camera's viewing area. So I brought it back to 0 and that problem was fixed. The finishing touch was some titles to separate parts of the control panel, and this was the result. The selected employee can be fired from there, with a little pop-up stopping that from happening by accident. You can also zoom in on the selected employee by clicking the look button. So that was the first weekend. I've been mostly working on Lumbermill on weekends while I'm at uni, as there's a lot of other work and deadlines I'm squeezing it around alongside lectures. But that's cool because it means I get a bit of variation, rather than working on the same stuff all the time, and the different scenery to home is keeping things interesting. As it's Halloween, some flatmates and I carved some pumpkins. The one on the left is mine, a better attempt than I usually make. Just thought I'd add some spookiness to this video. Speaking of university stuff, alongside this project I've started work on another game, which is the basis for my dissertation. Here are some mock-ups I made for demonstrating to my tutor. I will of course be making devlogs for that too, and I'm hoping to get the first of those out soon, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, the following weekend I got to work adding a small but useful feature to the game: randomized names the player can choose when starting a new game. This has been sitting on my Trello for a while, and I figured it might be quick and fun to add. So the first step here was to add a little button next to the field where the player types their mill name. I then went to Sprite to make a little dice icon. Once that was in the game though, I didn't think it looked great alongside the more smooth tick in the tick box below, so I went to Affinity and drew a high-res version. I added the generator script to the button, and hey, the generator works well. It basically just takes 3 sets of words and randomly chooses one from each set to make a mill name. This is just for if you're feeling lazy and don't want to think of a name yourself. It works pretty well though, I like it. Anyway, the game is available for wishlisting on Steam, so if you haven't already and you want the game when it's out, definitely make sure to do that. If you liked the video, remember to subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Cheers for watching.